Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Tribal colleges and universities just received a windfall appropriation from the Trump administration. But administrators of those higher education institutions are not resting easy. Just weeks before the federal funding increase, they faced nearly a complete funding cut. And the direction charted by those with the power to make those funding decisions is unpredictable. We'll speak with leaders of tribal colleges about what's next for Native higher education. That's coming up after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Canada's Assembly of First Nations Chiefs have voted unanimously to reject any changes to the oil tanker ban off the northern coast of British Columbia. As Dan Karpenchuk reports, the resolution came during a First Nations meeting in Ottawa, and less than a week after the federal government and Alberta signed a memorandum of understanding about a future pipeline.
The Chiefs also voted in favor of requesting that Ottawa withdraw the memorandum, saying it could pave the way for a new pipeline through BC. The national chief of the AFN, Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak, says Native leaders are united.
Canada can create all the MOUs, project offices, advisory groups that they want, but Chiefs are united. When it comes to approving large national projects on First Nations lands, there will not be getting around rights holders.
Prime Minister Mark Carney also addressed the AFN meeting, saying he plans to meet with coastal British Columbia First Nations. Merle Alexander is a lawyer who represents two of those bands.
First Nations in Canada are feeling overwhelmed, that they're feeling as though there is the duty to consult is being undermined. There also is a real pushback against this regression on environmental and climate change policies.
Last week, Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith signed a memorandum of understanding to cooperate on energy. That opens the way for an exemption from the coastal tanker ban to support a new pipeline to the West Coast and easier access for Canadian oil to Asian markets. The ban has been in place for about 50 years. It bars oil tankers carrying more than 12,500 tons of crude oil from stopping or unloading at ports from the north end of Vancouver Island to Alaska. For National Native News, I'm Dan Karpenchuk.
For 5 days, the Indian National Finals Rodeo is held in October in Las Vegas. The older generation passes the torch as up-and-coming riders compete for a shot at a world title. KNPR's Jimmy Romo attended the rodeo and has this story.
Behind the bucking chute at the Indian National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, or INFR, young riders suit up in their protective gear. There's a good chance a 2,000-pound bull could step on them after they hit the ground. Rodeo hands funnel the bull from their pens to the chute through a series of gates. Then they set them one by one to let the rider get on. When it's time, the gates open, and the animals buck repeatedly, trying to throw the rider off its back. A junior bull rider has to hold on to a bull with one hand for at least 6 seconds to score points. Cassius Thomas, who's 17, held on long enough to secure his win in the Junior Bull Riding INFR World Championship.
I just love the feeling, love the adrenaline, and sure love the money.
Cassius's father, Daniel Thomas, 52, was also a bull rider in his youth. Both are enrolled members of the Navajo Nation.
The Navajo Nation, I believe this is the way of life, given the horses, the livestock, the sheep. So it all goes back to that.
Children are inspired by watching their older relatives participate in the sport. That was the case for Cassius. It was also the case for bronc rider Ethan Heisman Yazzie. The 18-year-old finished at the top of his category to win the Rookie Saddle Bronc Riding INFR World Championship. Daniel Thomas was in the stands watching other junior bull riders get thrown before scoring any points. Then it was time to watch Cassius take his turn.
World Champion Cassius Thomas!
The feeling of while the bull was bucking, I could kind of anticipate what it felt like. So I was moving like back and forth, and I was like moving around like I was dancing or something.
Ethan and Cassius will go home with belt buckles and cash prizes, making the trip to Vegas worth the gamble.
That was Jimmy Romo reporting, and I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by AARP, whose Family Caregiver Resource Guide is available to caregivers by calling 877-333-5885 or at aarp.org/caregiver-resources.
Support by Drummond Woodsum, a full-service law firm whose nationally recognized tribal nations practice provides services to tribal nations and their enterprises and to companies that do business with tribes across the country. More at dwmlaw.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Tribal colleges and institutions are feeling pressure from the Trump administration's approach to all higher education institutions. Trump proposed a 90% federal funding cut to TCUs earlier this year. However, in the end, he doubled that federal funding using money meant to support minority students at other universities. But the unpredictable funding commitment and rhetoric coming from federal education officials makes for an uncertain path forward for TCUs. At the same time, a small group of tribal colleges are celebrating multi-million-dollar donations from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. Those schools say that the donations have provided relief when their future funding is in question. Today on our show, we'll speak with tribal college leaders about financial hurdles they face. Listeners, you are welcome to join us with comments or questions. Just call 1-800-996-2848. That's also 1-800-99-NATIVE. You can also comment on our website and social media pages. Joining us now from Bismarck, North Dakota, is Dr. Leander Russ McDonald. He is the president of United Tribes Technical College. He is an enrolled member of the Spirit Lake Nation and is an Arikara, Hidatsa, and Hunkpapa, Lakota, and Dakota descendant. Russ, good morning. Welcome to Native America Calling.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having us. Important topic for all of us to share, and glad you're having a segment on us. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Great to have you, Russ. Joining us from Winnebago, Nebraska is Manoj Patil. He is the president of Little Priest Tribal College. Manoj, hello, and welcome to Native America Calling.
Hi, Nipi. Good morning, Sean. Thank you for having us, and look forward to this very important conversation.
Great to have you, Manoj. And joining us from Keshena, Wisconsin is Dr. Christopher Caldwell. He is the president of the College of Menominee Nation, and he is Menominee. Dr. Caldwell, welcome to Native America Calling.
Hey, Poso, Mahoney Wiak. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to just join in discussion.
It's wonderful to have all of you on the show today. Let's go ahead and get started. And Russ, I want to begin with you because United Tribes is among tribal colleges and institutions benefiting from an increase in federal funding that was announced in September. What is the current outlook for your institution now in terms of funding?
Well, with those additional dollars, we know that it's a one-time payment, and but we wanted to just applaud the Trump administration for that increased investment in tribal colleges and universities is one thing. But we also realize that we hope that it's a new precedent for increasing investment in TCUs. I know that for us, I think the increase across the board was 109% for us. So for us, for the Title III dollars, we get 1.9 per year. So this increase was a 2.1. So it gave us $4 million. But all of us, especially us here at United Tribes, our campus was built in the late early 1900s. And so we're going to school, and people have our students residing, and we have departments in these 150-year-old buildings. And so, so there's a lot of maintenance to this, to our buildings. And so we pretty much, that $4 million sounds like a lot of dollars, but those dollars were already allocated in regard to infrastructure for the upcoming construction season. So it sounds like a lot, So we, to that end, though, we hope it's maintained going forward. And then, but earlier in the year, we were a little bit alarmed when we heard of the 90% cut across the board for us. So this turnaround here is something that was really good news for us.
Okay, so definitely for this year, things are looking really good. But let's say this funding doesn't continue. What happens then? What are your concerns?
Well, I think going forward, I think there has to be a continuing investment where we've been underfunded over the years, and so so I think there has to be a really look at the overall budget and what's provided to tribal colleges and universities, with the goal of increasing those funding sources across the board for the different federal pots that we receive going forward.
Okay, now some observers might say, wait a second here, this is a zero-sum game. Now, obviously, some of the tribal colleges are getting this increased funding, but at the same time, it is coming from money that was intended for low-income and minority student support at other colleges, other universities. So what is the potential overall effect for Native academic achievement?
Well, I just got back from National Congress of American Indians here about a week or so ago, and I co-chaired the education subcommittee. And then there was quite a bit of discussion on this, and we know that it's taken away from the minority-serving institutions where citizens of federally enrolled, federally recognized tribes are going to school. So there's so that fund is being taken away from those colleges and being reallocated to us. So there's a hurt there, and so I think our hope in the discussion indicated that we're hopeful that going forward, that the federal government would continue to invest in tribal colleges and universities, while at the same time holding those MSIs harmless.
Now, Russ, I know you spent time in Washington, D.C. this past year making the case to the federal government to uphold its responsibility to tribal colleges. Now, with this increased funding, do you think your message was received?
I hope so. It's an annual event, and myself and my colleagues here on the call with us today are all participate in that. We all take a couple of students up there to provide their stories in regard to how tribal colleges and universities have impacted them in their personal lives. We share a little bit in regard to the policy piece as in our roles as presidents. But I think it's just so important to recognize the importance of tribal colleges and universities. Myself, being a tribal college graduate, I may not have gone on to school had tribal college hadn't been there. And we try to influence our congressional representatives to that end by sharing these stories and really putting a picture, in a sense, on the data that's being provided to them. But overall, I think that tribal colleges and universities play a role in our tribal communities in regard to building this next generation, our next generation of tribal leaders. But at the same time, we become archivists, and in a sense that a lot of the cultural and language work that's happening are coming out of tribal colleges in partnership with the tribal nations that we serve. And that has to be the foundation for us moving forward. We need to make sure that that's solid, and then we enhance that knowledge with an academic piece on there that continues to build on that and hopefully moves in this direction of nation building that I think is important for all of us.
Russ, what about the overall growth of the tribal college landscape? Because I'm also a graduate of a tribal college, and it amazes me now here in 2025 that we have 37 tribal colleges and university, nearly 40. That's a huge number, but obviously not nearly enough. And with these current issues with funding and some of these uncertainties, do you see the possibility perhaps that we won't have many more additional tribal colleges opening in the future?
Well, there's a couple coming online right now, and California Indian Nations College, and also I can't remember the other one right offhand, but So I think that's continuing to grow, but I think the danger to that is that the pie is only so big. And so what happens then is that when these additional colleges drop into that fold, then those pie slices get a little bit thinner. And so, but we've been pretty good, I think, at being able to stretch a dollar in regard to the work that we're doing. And so, and I think there's more work that needs to happen. But I also know that, and it's such important to recognize the American Indian College Fund in this work and their support for us, because they're really the fundraising arms for the tribal colleges and universities, and they help supplement what we get in regard to federal dollars to help us to operate. And there's been a strong focus there in regard to capacity building as part of that work to help us to do better at what we're doing. Even though we're doing well, I think there's always room for improvement. And then recognize an American Indian Higher Education Consortium as our primary advocate for us in Washington to make sure that our policies and the legislative piece that needs to happen is especially in regard to our budgets, are maintained, and having the federal government recognize the treaty and trust responsibilities of the nation of the United States to our tribal people.
We have Dr. Leander Russ McDonald, president of United Tribes Technical College located in Bismarck, North Dakota, kicking off our conversation today here on Native America Calling. We are talking about tribal colleges, and I'm thinking there are quite a few people listening to the show right now who went to a tribal college, or maybe perhaps are now attending a tribal college. Or you have relatives who have attended tribal colleges, or maybe you are thinking about attending a tribal college at some point in the future. I'd sure like to hear from you and your concerns and your thoughts with regard to some of these funding issues going forward, as well as what is the significance, what is the value of having a tribal college in your community? How does it benefit people? How does it benefit community members? How does it foster and celebrate culture and heritage? You can join this conversation. All you have to do is pick up your phone, call 1-800-996-2848. We've got our producers standing by. They're waiting for your call. So what are you waiting for? 1-800-996-2848. Join us. Many young workers are turning to second or even third jobs, driven by financial worries, job insecurity, and sometimes to build additional skills and experience. We'll find out what the joys and drawbacks are of taking on side gigs. That's on the next Native America Calling.
Support provided by Amerind. Amerind is 100% tribally owned and partners with tribes and their businesses to provide affordable commercial insurance coverage, protect tribal sovereignty, and strengthen Native American communities by helping to keep dollars in Indian country. Information about property, liability, commercial auto, and workers' comp available at Amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Thank you for listening to Native America Calling. We're speaking with tribal colleges about the future of federal funding and their institutions. We also want to hear from you, of course. How have tribal colleges benefited you and your community? Please join us with a comment or question by calling 1-800-996-2848. That's also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Our next guest, Manoj Patil, joins us now from Winnebago, Nebraska, where he is president of Little Priest Tribal College. And Manoj, this is really exciting here. Little Priest received a $5 million donation from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. You yourself have called this donation transformative. What does this money allow you to do?
Thanks, Sean. The Christmas came a lot early for us. So Little Priest Tribal College had planned for a new campus estimated to cost us $60 million on a new 10-acre annex provided by our tribal council. And we had created the plan, the master plan, the implementation plan, the phases, and we had a plan to start the phase-wise construction in 5 to 10 years. That was the original plan, and this is just 2 months back, by the way. So, and on October 17th this year, I got a call from Mackenzie Scott Foundation about this gift. And of course, truly couldn't believe my ears when I heard this news and was really touched by the gift. So we immediately met with the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees wanted me to use this entire funds to start the phase 2 of our 10 acres new campus plan. So we are going to fundraise another $8 million. We have a $15 million campaign to raise total in the next 8 to 10 months, and we're hopeful that we can reach our goal and the construction will start. So the reason this is transformative is basically this $5 million gave us the hope to actually make this into a reality. Otherwise, I don't think so. It would have started in the next 5 years. So transformative to say the least, and then we're going to also start our next set of trade programs as well because of this. So,
Manoj, I'm curious to know, when you received this phone call from Mackenzie Scott, from her people, her organization on October 17th, what did they tell you? There's 36 other tribal colleges and universities. Why Little Priest? What was their rationale?
As you can guess, Sean, I actually asked this question, but they told me nothing. They only told me that they do what's called a quiet research, and that's all they said. They said they did quiet research about our college, and they appreciate the work we're doing, and they gave this gift. So I tried my best to find out why Little Priest and why now, and so I wish they had given me an answer, but I understand their mission and their philosophy, and they believe in that the colleges should get the recognition and not the Mackenzie Scott Foundation. So they truly are amazing people, and if Mackenzie Scott, if Miss Mackenzie Scott is hearing this conversation, just want to say Pinigigi, thank you to her. She just gave us a platform to dream big.
Yeah, absolutely. $5 million. Has the school ever received a gift of that magnitude in the past?
Never.
Well, what do you think going? Yeah, go ahead, Manoj. I'm sorry.
Our fundraising efforts in the last 3 years has been phenomenal. We have raised $2.5 million for different projects, but two of the Omaha foundations have given us $1.1 million each. That's the highest we have received so far, and this one is $5 million. So this is only going to help me fundraise the remaining amount much easily, because we are bringing $5 million to the table. So I think I can reach that $15 million much more easily than I ever thought.
Yeah, that's good news. Really good news. Now, earlier this year, as we mentioned, the presidential administration proposed reducing the budget for tribal colleges and university by almost 90%. How much damage do you think that would have caused? And do you think that could still potentially be a threat at some point in the future?
Great question. The New York Times actually came to our campus to interview me regarding the 83% cuts, possible cuts from the Department of Interior. What I told them was, and I'm going to repeat this here, that would be a death blow for us. And I'm also talking about some other tribal colleges that may not have that couldn't have withstood the cuts. 83% would be almost $830,000 for Little Priest Tribal College from the interior, and that would have eliminated 22 positions out of 46 full-time positions we have. So basically, the college may not have existed after 2-3 years if this cuts would have taken place. So I'm requesting the Trump administration, the lawmakers, the congressional staff, the listening audience to support tribal colleges because this gift we received from Mackenzie Scott, absolutely grateful and thankful, but it's a one-time gift. But to run our institutions, we have a huge dependency on federal dollars, and Little Priest Tribal College runs on 80% of their budget on federal funds.
All right, let's go to the phones now where we have Bill listening in Newtown, North Dakota on KMHA Radio. Good morning, Bill. You are on the air.
Good morning. I just wanted to say I was a tribal college instructor at Salish Kootenai College in Montana, part-time, 5 years, full-time, about 13 years. And tribal colleges in general are just a miracle. They're the movement, as we called it back then. I was really fortunate to work under Dr. Joe McDonald, who was our founding president for many years, a legendary icon in Indian education. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the students that I was fortunate enough to work with, and they graduated. Many of them graduated and went on to work in their fields, taking on leadership positions, both in my tribe and for other tribes and non-members that attended our school. And it's just, I wish that we could somehow convey to people the powerful impact that tribal colleges have had, because they exist because we do not mainstream higher education and public education, for that matter, do not tend to serve Native students very well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody, including my former students who are just really out there kicking butt every day.
Appreciate the call in, Bill. I'm going to ask you, though, what did you teach?
I taught environmental science.
Huge need in many tribal communities for that kind of expertise, I imagine.
Yes, indeed, and we also established the first ever and only to this day 4-year degree in forestry. We had an associate's program for many years, and we established during my time a 4-year in forestry and a 4-year hydrology program as well. We have a whole bunch of bachelor's degree programs now at our college, about 15 or 16, I think now.
All right. Bill, thank you so much for calling in today from Newtown, North Dakota. The station again, KMHA Radio. And Manoj, I'd like you to talk a little bit about Little Priest and some of the programs that you folks offer and what some of the other hurdles are that exist that are maybe creating challenges to keep those programs going.
Sean, the first thing I want to make a point is tribal colleges historically had a significant lack of funding. So over the years, since the inception of the Tribal College Controlled Act, Assistance Act, we always have been getting less than what we have been promised under the trust and treaty obligations, under what the Congress had initially planned to. So we barely keep up with our maintenance. President McDonald made a comment about some of his buildings. That's true for many colleges, including Little Priest Tribal College. The building I'm currently sitting was constructed in 1947, was an orphanage building, but was converted into a college. Our students deserve better. Our students deserve the same facilities as a student that goes to a state community college or university. So, and many of the tribal colleges don't get much support from the states they are currently they are located. For example, from the state of Nebraska, we get less than 2% of our total budget from the state of Nebraska. So as we truly depend on federal funding to run the operations and to actually grow the institutions, we need to have a consistent appropriations of funds to tribal colleges. And you made a point that there are more colleges coming along. California Indian Nations College, and San Carlos Apache College. And that will dilute the number of the dollar amounts we're going to get because the same pot is now getting divided. So we request the Congress to not to, divide it by a lower number, but to actually add more dollars to the pot so that we get fair share and to keep growing the institutions. As one of your callers mentioned, we have students who rely on us, who rely on higher education from tribal colleges. So for me, that's such a big deal. And second thing I want to share, Sean, is this year, AHEC, the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, released the Economic Impact Study in September of 2025. For example, Little Prince Tribal College, for every $1 invested, the return on that one is $1.20. So we not only make an impact to students and their families and generations to come, but we also make an economic impact to the tribe we live in and to the state we are in and to the nation as a whole. So I think there's a clear need, especially on the facility side and on the programmatic side, the funding has to sustain. Otherwise, colleges cannot keep growing and increasing their enrollment.
Okay. Manoj, the funding challenges that you point out, that's what makes this donation from Mackenzie Scott so exciting, because I think a lot of people are listening right now and thinking, well, geez, if a couple of tribal colleges can pull in multi-million-dollar donations like this from a high-profile philanthropist such as Mackenzie Scott, maybe going forward, we don't need to be so dependent on these federal sources or these states sources that you gave an example of as well. Do you see that at all possible in the future, that philanthropy could become a major source of funding for tribal colleges, leaving them less dependent on the whims of the federal government?
That's a great question. And as AHEC board members, we all discussed that actually. Even though we would love to have these type of one-time donations, what I call a miraculous gift, but to run an institution under the trust and treaty obligations, the continuity of appropriations funds from the federal government is absolutely needed to run an institution. I'm speaking for all tribal colleges here. So these one-time donations can help us springboard into the next level, which is what we have been waiting for 50 years. But to run our daily operations, we would need the federal funding. So, and I want the listening audience to understand that this one-time gift, as much as we needed it, will not help us to continue running the operations. This is going to help us create a new campus, but to run the new campus, we would need that additional federal dollars. So I don't want to have a misconception that some tribal colleges got this money and we're good here. No, we need we are grateful for the gift, but this is only going to help us springboard to keep up with other colleges that do get state and federal funds. So I want to reemphasize and reiterate that federal funds are needed, and I request the Trump administration to continue supporting tribal colleges.
Okay, thank you, Manoj. Now, we do have also on the show today Dr. Christopher Caldwell, president of the College of Menominee Nation, and they also received a large donation from Mackenzie Scott. But I'm going to hold off on bringing Dr. Caldwell into the conversation until the end of this next break. And before then, I'd like to go back to Russ McDonald. And Russ, what are your thoughts with regard to philanthropy, and what is its place now going forward? As we heard from Manoj, it's certainly valuable, it's certainly appreciated, but the core, the foundation, apparently has to rely on federal funding. And I think some listeners might be still a little bit confused as to why that is. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that I think the points that Manoj made or President Patel made are important to this discussion. But I think it's also important for us as tribal colleges and universities. We've not had any spare dollars in order to start to take advantage of investment opportunities or endowment opportunities until for us it's just been really recent. And so we're in a place right now that where we have a little bit of reserves in order to carry us. And so but for the most part I think all of us have to get to a point of being strategic in what we're doing, and to perhaps create positions within our colleges, if we can afford it, to have that fundraising person, to have that person do that work on our behalf in order to gather funds, or to go out and do that outreach in order to garner additional funds for the work that we're doing. The federal funds become a kind of a core funding source, and then it's like building any kind of shop. We get a core funding source and we protect that source in regard to going forward, and then we go after additional pots of money out there to help us to do that work. And then as that work is built upon and history is built for that work, then you can grow the organization, the department or the college or agency or whatever work that you're doing. So I think there's a process out there that we're all kind of used to doing, but we need that core funding in order to make things happen. And then these additional funds help us to either enhance that work for specific areas, but one area that we're lacking in is the construction dollars. We don't have there's not a whole lot of money available out there for rehabilitation or new construction. Okay. So that's one area that's been lacking. And so I think gifts like this, I think, are really important to address those needs.
Absolutely.
To supplement that.
All right.
Operation funds.
Thank you, Russ. We have to take another break. We're going to come back. We got the phone lines open, 1-800-99-NATIVE.
Support from Clarkson Potter, publisher of Turtle Island, Foods and Traditions of the Indigenous Peoples of North America by Native American chef Sean Sherman. With ancestral and modern recipes, this cookbook showcases diverse foodways of the continent's regions.
Need help identifying community priorities? Kaufman & Associates' approach to evaluation is rooted in Indigenous knowledge, honoring tribal history, and sovereignty. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.
You are listening to Native America Calling, and there's still plenty of time for listeners who would like to join our conversation today about the future of tribal colleges and universities. Join us with comments or questions by calling 1-800-996-2848. Of course, you can also comment on our social media pages and our website, nativeamericacalling.com. Our third guest, Dr. Christopher Caldwell, president of the College of Menominee Nation, joins us now. And Dr. Caldwell, College of Menominee Nation also received a large donation from Mackenzie Scott, $10 million. What are the plans for that money, and how does it compare to other financial gifts to the college in the past?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share. It's been one heck of a year, I would say. If someone would have told me we would have been receiving a gift like we have from Mackenzie Scott at the end of this year, I would have had a hard time believing them, and I actually did when the initial contact came out. I kind of attributed it to a test by our IT director to make sure I wasn't opening emails that I shouldn't be, but luckily this one was actually real. And so just the amount of change that we've had in just this 1 year, and everything that President McDonald, President Patil shared, those have been our experiences and things that we've been working towards for the college here. But initially thinking that our funding would be gone and what would we do, I know we had estimated at that time we had about a 6-month planning horizon. We could finish out the spring semester, maybe summer classes, maybe into the fall semester, but beyond that, we didn't have a clear picture. But coming together as part of AHEC and with other tribal colleges, really proud of the messaging that was done, especially with our students sharing their stories and that makes our jobs easier as presidents. When we meet with our elected officials, we can just introduce ourselves and sit back and let our students tell the story. And that's always been a strength that I feel with AHEC, because that also develops our future leaders here at the tribal colleges and universities. But now with the Mackenzie gift, that really does give us some latitude to look at where we can increase our impact in the communities that we serve, the students that we serve. So, I'm still reflecting and taking in this whole year.
Well, congratulations. And we heard from President Patil mention they're focusing on infrastructure, building a new campus. How about you folks? Is there a need for improved buildings and facilities?
Yeah, definitely. One thing we're fortunate is that our founding president, longtime president, Dr. Verna Fowler Catnup, who is no longer with us, she actually built a Kashina campus that is fully debt-free. But it's over 20 years old, many of the buildings, and they have their creaks and cracks and other things that we're dealing with. But, we're at a point where we have a good opportunity to look at campus master planning. When I first started 5 years ago, we had fell out of that cycle with AHEC. So this is one of the things we've been bringing back. And with the Mackenzie Scott gift, it really empowers that type of planning that we can do for the long-term future. And so we'll be doing that. But some of our initial conversations with our board is looking at how do we build our long-term investment so we have a more solid foundation, but also looking at 80-20 split, maybe 20% focused on immediate programming, things that range from faculty and staff support and development to increased student services, investing in our community funding programs so that we're engaging with not only the Menominee people who chartered us, but with all of the other tribal nations and surrounding communities that engage with our college. So there's a lot there, but we have some meetings coming up to finalize our plans.
Dr. Caldwell, what are your thoughts with regard to private donations as a way to replace federal money that now goes to TCUs?
Yeah, I think that we want to be stable, and if it's through private foundations, definitely that we encourage that support and belief in our mission and seeing the impact we have. But there's also that trust responsibility that the government entered into through treaties with tribal nations, and our Menominee tribe has their own treaties with the government. We're actually one of the tribes that went through federal termination policy back in the 60s, 70s. Grassroots efforts brought about restoration. And so there's a lot of lessons that we've learned as a tribe. And I think as the higher education arm of that trust responsibility, I think those funds are, that doesn't divest the government of their responsibility. And we've, as Menominee, we've learned a lot of those lessons through our forest management efforts. And if you compare our forest experience with our higher education experience, with our forest management, you can see our forest from space. Satellites can delineate because of our forest we've maintained in contrast to the cutover around the reservation. And so I always envision our higher education impact as something like that it will shine as a beacon of hope in our community and the communities that surround us and that we serve. So, maybe they'll see our campus from space one of these days, but yeah, a lot of good there.
Well, this $10 million donation, I mean, this just has to really, really get the wheels turning. And when you do seek out other philanthropic sources, what are you looking for? What types of foundations, what types of donors do you think are most receptive to supporting tribal colleges?
Well, for us, we have a very we have sustainability as one of our long-standing institutional values, and that's been expressed through our Sustainable Development Institute, which is about as old as our college, or at least the conceptual idea for the institute is as old as the College of Menominee Nation, about 33 years. But that really builds off of our, as I mentioned, our sustainable forestry experience as a tribal people, and what does that mean from creation to present to future. And through the work of SDI, we've actually secured a number of large private donations focused on sustainability, climate change, impact work that we do across the Midwest region, nationally, internationally. So there have been private donors who've $650,000 for one, $1 million for another one, and all directed towards the institute. So that has been one of our bigger beacons for attracting support. But I think as we mature in how we fundraise and look to identify donors who have an interest or may believe in the mission that we're doing here, I think that's a part that we really are developing, is how do we become more proficient in identifying and building these relationships. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, and I think expanding that experience and those accomplishments from SDI into other areas of the college would definitely help us set up a more solid and sustainable positioning of our college.
Dr. Caldwell, one of the challenges that I think is really profound and we have to mention here with regard to TCUs as compared to other types of colleges and universities in the United States is that many schools that have been in operation for many decades, sometimes hundreds of years, they have these huge alumni bases, and they have boosters, and they have, people who have gone to those schools who provide tremendous financial support. Do you see a point at any time in the future when tribal colleges will be able to depend more on alumni to be donors and to support these schools financially? Is that at all on your radar?
Oh, definitely. We do look for, that's why we're in the business of developing students so that they can go out and become the next leaders and business people, entrepreneurs, and practitioners, managers for our tribal nations and communities. And it does point a little to that tribal nations, communities are really underinvested, and yet there's a lot of talent here that many outside of the reservation don't realize. But I think that is exactly why TCUs are important, because we help both our students and our communities believe in themselves and also get other people on the outside to see the potential that we have in here, and hopefully attract more investment that we can continue to be a part of building our nations up and creating, while protecting and preserving and maintaining our ways of life. I don't see that in opposition to also providing good paying jobs to our graduates and all those in our community. And then by extension, by them going through that experience, turning around and investing in the college because they know of the importance of our work. So I think all of those things are mutually obtainable. That's where the work of our TCUs and our tribal governments really, in tribal businesses, that's where there's a really big opportunity. So, yeah, a lot of opportunity there to not only increase our graduates, our alumni giving, but also even just to work on how do we engage them and involve them in the campus beyond just financial support. There's a lot of people that praise up the institution and share our message, and I think that's important as well. So there's other areas that we can engage our alumni with the college.
Dr. Caldwell, looking to the future, how optimistic are you with regard to tribal colleges, and any thoughts with regard to tribal citizens and students that might feel a little bit unsafe right now with regard to the future of these institutions and possible federal cuts?
Well, I think that points to the unique character and identity of tribal colleges and universities. We are relatively young institutions, yet we're built on knowledge systems thousands of years old that have endured a lot. And not only endured, but we many of our communities are thriving, are building up, and looking forward to a more optimistic future. And I think that as if we as current leaders and people who are a part of tribal colleges and universities today, if we keep thinking that way, that's important. And that's why I struggle with the messaging of the federal government and the pulling back of dollars and getting caught in this tug of war back and forth. It really causes people to focus on that negative messaging. So I try to balance that yeah, there's uncertainties, there's going to be struggles, but our ancestors, our elders have gone through struggles in the past, and they always look for the best choice, or the choice that will be best for those who will follow us. And I think that's the type of approach that we take here, that generational care that we have in recognition of what was done for us. So I would share that much in terms of people thinking about the future of TCUs and for our college. I think there's unlimited potential, even though we're currently limited in terms of resources. But as the Mackenzie Scott gift demonstrates, there are people who believe in the work that we're doing, and I hope to, and also the one-time historic investment, as much as that creates a bit of a tension, I think it also is an opportunity for us to demonstrate what we can do and properly invested in.
Well, does the College of Menominee Nation have a graduation coming up this month?
Winter graduations, we do that in the summer, even for those who complete in December. The commencement ceremony is May 14th or 15th.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. All of the guests who joined us, Christopher Caldwell, Leander Russ McDonald, and Manoj Patil, all presidents of tribal colleges, sharing with us triumphs and challenges that they face in their roles. And with that, we're going to have to wrap up the show. We're out of time, but I offer you all the opportunity to join us again tomorrow. We'll be taking a look at the increasing number of workers turning to second and third jobs called side hustles. Hope you'll be able to tune in. Until then, I'm Sean Spruce. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Support by the American Indian College Fund. The American Indian College Fund provides millions of dollars of scholarships to thousands of Native students every year. Tribal citizens of every age and experience are eligible. The deadline for applications is May 31st, and you can find everything you need to apply at collegefund.org. That's collegefund.org, or by phone at 800-766-FUND. Education is the answer. The Association on American Indian Affairs invites all to Tribal Museums Day, December 6th through December 12th. Tribal museums may offer no-cost or reduced admission, art markets, and live cultural demonstrations. Tribal Museums Day honors diverse Native nations as the experts of their own cultures. You can find a map of tribal museums and more at indian-affairs.org/Tribal Museums Day. The association supports this show.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.